All right. Well, first and foremost, Kaya, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
I absolutely love the show. Guy Ritchie is one of my all-time favorite filmmakers, so it was really amazing. And your performance as Susie Glass is absolutely fantastic.
Oh, awesome. I'm really glad you enjoyed it.
So, had you seen the Gentleman movie prior to joining the show?
Yeah, I had actually. I'd seen it not too long before. Um, I remember seeing the poster on the side of the bus, and there's such a like clear Guy Ritchie aesthetic that when you see it, it's instantly recognizable that it's like his work. And again, like I've been the same as you've been a fan of his for a really long time. I kind of grew up with Lock, Stock, and Snatch being, a real part of the fabric of being British. And yeah, I really enjoyed the film. And when I heard it was being made into a TV show, remember the audition coming through and the email kind of headline being the Gentleman TV series. And I thought that was really intriguing straight away. And then I read the log line for Susie and I thought, oh, fuck, cool. I think they're actually going to build a really great female character into this as well. And I was really excited about it from the very beginning.
Is there something that stood out to you when you read the script that was different from the movie?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Susie, 100%. Like that's what sold me on it. Um, Knowing that he wanted to kind of introduce this really strong female character into his universe, but also then have the time to really explore her and experience the journey with her. I think that's what's interesting about the TV format versus the film format is essentially we made 8 movies, and with that comes the kind of luxury of really getting to know each individual character and she starts incredibly strong and at the top of her game, but we get to explore her vulnerabilities and her cracks in her armor as we go along. And I just adored her. I knew straight away it was someone that I could breathe life into, that I'd have fun playing. And I loved the idea of being the first kind of front and center female character within that sort of Guy Ritchie universe.
And did you have any early discussions with Guy Ritchie on how you were going to approach Susie Glass and how she was going to evolve within the show?
Yeah, his way of working is quite interesting in that it's sort of ideas pop into his head in the moment. So we had like a welcome drink thing with everyone together to meet for the first time. And that's where I first met him and first spoke to him. And we had like a very brief conversation, not very brief, but we had a normal conversation. At the end of it, he sort of went, okay, now I have a completely different idea of who she is. And so he sort of built her up around me. And I, in turn, gave him my ideas of Susie, and we sort of bounced that around together. And then on the day on set, things would change even more. It's kind of whatever he's feeling in that moment. But I definitely stuck to my guns with a lot of things that I knew were important to the integrity of the character, of making her strong the entire time, of not kind of getting distracted by a romance or anything like that. Like she's there for business, and Guy agreed with that wholeheartedly.
And is there something from Guy's directorial style in this show that you retained the most while working on Susie?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a very unique style of directing. I don't think any of us have ever kind of worked in that environment before. And at first, it's quite anxiety inducing because, like I say, the ideas pop into his head in the moment. He doesn't really read the scripts. He has people explain to him what the scripts are. And then he, on the day, in the moment, sometimes right before action, will rewrite it and come up with a completely different staging or change the scene completely. And at first, for an actor, that's super intimidating, right? Because number one rule, turn up to set, know your lines, and that goes out the window. But once you give in to that, and once you accept it, and once you trust it, it's actually very freeing. It's sort of kind of a weird improvisation style almost. And there are moments where you have to push back and go, I don't think that's quite right. And he'll push back just as much. And that's actually quite exciting and quite creative. And once you sort of you assert yourself and you give in to his way of doing it, it can actually be a really interesting way of working.
And I imagine it was fun playing a character that sort of between the line of like a good guy and a villain. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely, totally. I mean, growing up in London in the way I grew up, I saw people from all different kinds of walks of life. You kind of the idea of good versus bad is quickly forgotten about because life is complicated and people do what they have to do and find the balance of that. And I think that's what the Glass family are about. It's the idea that you have these people who've been given land and because of their bloodline believe that they're entitled to certain things, and the gangsters who believe that they're entitled to the same thing. They just have to come up with slightly more creative ways of getting it.
And is there a challenge in developing a character that, when the audience watches Susie, you never really know like what she's thinking, what she's going through, and at the same time, Eddie doesn't really know if she can trust her that much?
Yeah, but I really like that about her, and I think it's quite realistic in that she's a businesswoman. She's no different to the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. It just happens to be criminality that she's dealing with. But she's a businesswoman. She keeps her cards close to her chest, and that was really important to me. That there was no way in which by the second episode she would suddenly trust these people and show all sides of herself to them. The business is what is important to her. And she's learned that over a long time. We meet her, she's already established. There's no sort of coming of age. She's already at the top of the game. She's a fully formed adult. And I loved that about her. So we kind of really lent into that in the idea that she is in control at all times. She knows exactly what she's doing, but she doesn't trust anyone else.
And what's really interesting, I think, about Susie and Eddie's arcs within the show is that they could not be more different. But at the end, like especially the final shot, is really amazing because they feel completely in sync with each other. And so I wonder, like, how did you and Theo sort of work on building that chemistry throughout the series?
Yeah, we were lucky in that we had a really solid chemistry from the get-go. He walked into this drinks party that I was talking about, and he'd just got off a flight from LA, and he was talking to Guy, and I sort of just handed him a whiskey, and he started drinking it, and then we said hello, and it was just, we immediately kind of knew each other's rhythm. We've had very similar careers. I've heard really great things about him as a person beforehand, so I knew that we would get on well creatively. And then when it came to the characters, it was quite obvious that we had to toe the line between them having this very natural, clear chemistry, but also aware that they are enemies and that they will never be the same. And there's something quite fundamentally British about that, and how our society is structured within the class system, that no matter how much wealth the Glass family accumulate, they will always be working class versus the upper classes. And Eddie and Susie will always have that feeling towards each other within that. They're mud and water. But it was really fun to play with the idea that there is an undeniable chemistry there. They work very, very well together. And I think Susie's the first one to see something in Eddie that she hasn't seen in any of the people that she's dealt with within this world before.
And you share a number of really fantastic scenes with Ray Winstone, who plays Susie's father, Bobby Glass. Can you talk about how you built that relationship with him? Because, I don't know if it's just me, but whenever he was on screen, even in the prison, the dramatic tension would just go really up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's awesome. I've been a huge fan of his work since I was a kid. His turn in Sexy Beast is a masterclass in acting, and to have the opportunity to play with him, to kind of, be in a space with him and watch him work, I was really excited about. But then on top of that, to discover that he's a really generous man and a kind man, and he has 3 daughters, and he knows how to speak to women. He's very respectful of women, and very respectful of fellow actors, and to have that safe space with his gravitas is just an absolute joy. And my favorite scenes to shoot of the show were the ones with him, because it felt like, when you work with a really good actor, they elevate you, and you need to match up to that presence. And it was really fun to kind of go toe to toe with him.
So, as a massive fan of the Maze Runner series, like I love The Death Cure. It's like one of my favorite movies of
Thanks, man.
I'd be remiss not to talk about your collaboration with Giancarlo Esposito as Stanley Johnston, with a T, of course.
Of course.
So I'm always curious, like whenever you work with someone you've worked with before, even if it's completely different from a dystopian sci-fi movie, how did your collaboration with Giancarlo evolve from the last time you worked with him?
Oh, it's really lovely in that it kind of is the same as, it's like you feel like you've seen them yesterday, because you have formed these really huge bonds with people on set, and then you go your separate ways, and you go back to real life, and life moves on, but then you come back together again on a set, and it's like no time has passed at all. I think on day 1 we took a selfie and sent it to the Maze Runner group chat, and the boys were all very excited, and yeah, we adored him then, and it was great to see him again, and he's still the same amazing actor and charmer, and it's really nice to know that you're in a safe place with someone. You worked with them before, you know that they're good, you know that they're honest, you know that they're kind. And it was really wonderful having him there.
And is there something that you would say was your favorite part overall in working on the show?
Definitely kind of pushing myself in learning how to adjust to Guy's style of directing. It was a real new form of set experience, and it was really great to kind of come out the other side of it and go, oh, I managed to keep up with that, I managed to do it. But also I had so much fun with Susie, because like I was kind of touched on before, I've played a lot of young adult characters. I played a lot of teenagers. And I think this is the first adult that I've played, the first kind of fully formed grown ass woman who's unapologetic about how intelligent and savvy she is. And that was really empowering to get to step into those very high shoes.
Awesome. Well, it was really great talking today, Kaya, on the show. Congratulations on I think the best performance of your career.
Thank you, darling. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wish you all the best on your future projects, and hope that you have a very good rest of your day.
Thank you, too, honey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.